Hello, welcome to Sterlo's Wrap.
Oh, straight through!
Bang, take advantage of it.
Stand and applaud!
It's a stupid question.
It's
I
not!
have far greater expectations of you than that.
Oh, yes! He's gone all the way!
Now, he's popular, he's a great leader, he's the mentality of this football team.
Oh, and another one from Cleary!
Well, it doesn't get much better, does it?
Absolutely outstanding, and the finish is just as good!
It's rugby league, isn't it?
Hello, welcome to Sterlo's Wrap for another week. Just one weekend of footy left until we're into the finals. But Peter Sterling, round 24, we've got injuries, we've got suspensions, we've got teammates bluing with former teammates. That has all been happening.
We've got everything, Matt, and we've got us as a team.
Yeah.
Rugby league's about combination, cohesion. You're now starting to dress like me. How good.
Yes. Look, I've always admired you. And I just thought the best form of flattery is imitation.
It's sartorially elegant. That's just, we're going to kick off that way.
I think I'll leave my hair the way it is, though. You've been watching rugby league for a long, long time. You've seen something over the weekend that you don't think you've ever seen before.
Well, I don't think. I haven't. And I love unique things in rugby league. What about this? It's hard to kick the ball and hit an upright when you're trying. Zach Lomax here, 3 kicks in a row. The first 3 kicks against the Cowboys, all hit the post. Now, what are the astronomical...
And the same post.
The same post. The same post. Just go down to the park and try doing that. You'd be there for months.
Well, it's like us practising our golf, isn't it? Try and chip it in the hole. And it has taken months for us to get one in.
Now, he'd have liked to have kicked one of those because they needed the points at the time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, just bizarre. 3 in a row, you couldn't plan for that, and astronomical, the odds.
Well, speaking of upset results, let's start with the biggest one of the weekend. My little mate here, he's been very happy ever since we called the game on Saturday night because Parramatta beat Melbourne.
And it was a great performance. Deserved winners in this one.
Absolutely.
And they got all the aspects of their game right. Like, I've been critical of them for a number of weeks now, and I've thrown some things in. And I just loved everything that I saw on the weekend. They were aggressive. They went out there with a plan to move Melbourne around, but not in extravagant fashion. Everybody knew their role. I thought the 2 halves, Mitchell Moses and Dylan Brown, it's the best I've seen them combine in over 12 months. And they knew exactly what they were supposed to be doing, and there was an authority about that, and that was great. But the best player in the field was Junior Paulo. He was fantastic. Isaiah Papali'i not far behind him. And then you go all the way through the side, through to the bench. I thought the bench were excellent as well. So Melbourne were off their game, but again, I've asked a couple of times how much of that was contributed by the fact that Parramatta made them play that way. They put pressure on them. And in the end, the thing I loved about this, in the last 5 to 10 minutes, Parramatta actually finished stronger than the Storm. And you rarely see that. You're waiting for Melbourne to come at them, but they ran out of legs. So a superb performance from them. And if you're going to beat Melbourne, it's what you do when they make breaks against you. And you know that that's going to happen. They're so good with the football. But just the amount of times that Parramatta got jerseys there and tackles made. Clint Gutherson, he came up with 2 or 3
this was
try
amazing.
savers. At that time, that was huge on Lumi from Dylan Brown. Late in the game here, Mitchell Moses had gone back to fullback. He and Will Penasini combined. 3 players arrived to push the winger over the sideline. So it was a great performance. And again here, normally Melbourne would score, if not this play, the next one. Mitch Moses kicked the football. Look at the chase to get back and tag Nico Hines. Dylan Brown makes that tackle. Then they go to the left, and that's normally where Melbourne would score, but Parramatta got players back. So there was a lot of effort involved. To beat Melbourne, it's the tries that you stop as much as the ones that you allowed, which will determine the final scoreline. Parramatta did not concede a point after the 29th minute.
It's a staggering form reversal. Staggering form reversal. To even compete with Melbourne coming into that game last night, I'm thinking if Parra can compete well and limit the damage here, it gives them something to go forward with. I don't think anyone would have imagined that they could turn their horrid form around and beat Melbourne on their merits as they did.
No, they took a first step against the Cowboys. That was scrappy. But they needed a kill, and they got that then. So it was... I said before the game, the pressure was on Melbourne.
Yeah, it was.
You know, there'd been so much talk about this record run being put together, and they're looking to break it in that game. Nobody was talking about Parramatta at all, and I think they embraced that. I think the Eels, you know, it was almost against an us against them mentality, and that's a nice mentality to take into a game. So they got the job done. Big question now is, of course, can they continue that? They've got Penrith next week. They'll be without Junior Paulo, who will take the early plea and miss a week. So they'll miss his presence, absolutely. But look, I'm just basking in the afterglow of what was their best win of the season against the best side in the competition. And
well, it gives them a fighter's chance in the finals, doesn't it?
Well, it lifts them. You know, it gives them belief that they can go deeper into that final month than what a lot of people were giving them credit for.
Yeah, let's see if they can build on that. Friday night footy against the Panthers. It's always a very spiteful encounter when Parramatta take on Penrith. Panthers coming off a 30 points to 16 victory in Sunday footy over the West Tigers. Very scrappy themselves, the Panthers, but did enough to get the job done in the end. And in truth, they were probably never troubled. It just wasn't an ideal performance from them.
I think it's far from. I think Ivan Cleary would be livid with parts of it. Their completion rate was terrible. They got into good scoring positions and squandered that way too often. Said during the call, Matt, that against better sides, you can't make the errors that Penrith did. They'll be better for that. And obviously they've got players coming back. There was Fisher Harris and Brian To'o's first came back for a number of weeks. A number of players have missed footy since Origin. To me, one of the significant aspects of this was more game time and the impact of Tabita Pangai Jr. Came in, scored a cracking try when the side needed to lift, and you could see that the rest of the team rallied on the back of that.
Well, he's very much the X factor for Penrith going into the finals, and in fact, we caught up with the man himself after full time with Penrith beating the Tigers.
Tabita, a win and a try as well. How good did that feel out there?
Yeah, it feels good. Playing with awesome players, great coaches, and they really hold me accountable and showing me my footy.
You've only been with the club a few weeks. What have you loved most about the Penrith Panthers so far?
Oh, they just ride me all the time on all the little things off the field. Isaiah Yeo's always into me, same as Nathan Cleary. So I'm just trying to do my job, earn their respect, and but that's just doing all the little things that they require us to do.
And I bet you're glad that Viliami kick-out is on your side and you don't have to tackle him?
Yeah, big thing on there, scored some tries today, and I'm glad I'm not playing him anymore.
It's great to see you back out there. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, interesting answer that they're riding him all the time. A team full of professionals like Isaiah Yeo and Nathan Cleary and the likes. And look, he's played in some decent Broncos teams throughout his career, but he slips into a genuine premiership contender. I wonder if this is the sort of environment that brings the absolute best out in Tabita Pangai.
Oh, I think there's no doubt about that, Matt. You come from a Brisbane team where he's one of the experienced campaigners, and there's a lot that goes on the shoulders there. You're expected to lead the way. Coming to the Panthers, all of a sudden he just slots back. He's got a very, very simple job to do. He won't start a game, I wouldn't imagine. So he's just got to come in, run the football, and when the play unfolds with his talent, he'll get a pass away at certain stages. So he's gone from the spotlight really being on him to a much more narrowed and focused role playing there around guys who are going to make it easy for him. The halves pairing there, they'll be a joy to play on the edge of. So, I think when it was first announced the signing, I thought, is that going to work? What's that going to mean? 3 clubs within 13 games, but it may well prove to be a masterstroke from Ivan Cleary and the Penrith club that they bring a player of his quality. It doesn't look as though it's caused any dissension. And I thought what was really obvious was when he scored the try, the reaction of his teammates. That must make him feel really, really good and really welcome. And I'm part of something here.
The signing of Pangai is a vote of confidence in the system the Penrith have built there, because they know they can drop a player like him in there and expect that he's going to perform. Yeah,
and it's also a sign that we are hell-bent on winning this competition. If we have to bring something else in, we'll do that, and everybody's got to get on board, and clearly they have.
The Book of Feuds got a bit thicker over the weekend. Friday night footy, Rabbitohs 54. Roosters 12. The result, though, has paled into insignificance after the Latrell Mitchell incident. Firstly, the suspension, 6 weeks. Joey Manu with surgery on his cheekbone. And then we hear in the aftermath of all that the Roosters knocked back Latrell as he tried to go into the sheds to issue an apology, and Trent Robinson's been involved in some drama as well, Pete.
Yeah, look, it's all unfortunate. There's a lot of emotion involved, and you could see that, and you can understand that as well. You know, it was a nasty incident, and it was an accident. But for Joey Manu to leave under those circumstances, one of the best players in the game and one of the nicest players, not that that's got anything to do with it, but, you know, I think it hurt everybody.
Do you think the Roosters thought it was an accident, given their reaction?
Well, I do, because if you listen to Trent Robinson after the game, they asked him about Latrell Mitchell, and he said, look, we love him, I love him, but for me not to say that he needs to get that out of his game would be insincere. So, you know, he was far away from attacking Latrell Mitchell for the actual tackle. It was more about the way that it was dealt with. Certainly he had an issue with his man getting fouled the way that he did, but I don't think there was as much ill will there as maybe it would come from the fans. But it's certainly going to have an influence.
Let me put this to you then on the back of that. He had a 4-week suspension earlier in the season. This has attracted 6 weeks, 10 weeks in 1 year, and that'll obviously go into the start of next year as well. Despite his brilliance as a footballer, at what stage does Latrell Mitchell become a liability with these issues?
I don't know about liability.
Because I can say the same about Victor Radley at the Roosters. Now, everyone knows that
I don't think they'll ever be liability.
Really?
Yeah, I think that...
Can you have your star player getting rubbed out for 10 weeks?
No, you can't. They need to change their ways to some degree. I said with Victor Radley at the time that he didn't have to change his tackling style. He just had to lower the target. Latrell Mitchell, with his aggression, he's just got to manage that better. I don't think, with the talent that they have, I don't think... It's a long way down the track before it becomes a situation where you say, well, can we afford to have them in the club? I think we're a long way away from that. But there
have been players in the past, Pete, because of the way the judiciary system and match review is set up, that they've attracted so many charges over the years that it's almost impossible to play them, because every time something happens, they get rubbed out for an extended period.
I'll put you on the spot. Give me a couple of names. Who
Well, Adrian Morley early in his career, but had to change it.
Well, he had a long career.
I think Gareth Ellis is another one that comes to mind.
They both had long careers. They played a long time at the clubs they were at. So I don't think they ever got to the stage where the club saw them as saying...
Sam Burgess? I know he had another long career, but he spent long expanses of time on the sideline because of his previous record. Are these two getting to that point?
Well, they're getting to the point where they've got to address the reason why they are spending time on the sideline. But again, Sam Burgess, South Sydney were never going to get rid of him for what he offered. You know, he helped win them a premiership. So we're a long way from when you say that they become too much of a problem for the club that they play at. I don't see that being the case. They've just got to refine what is putting them over the line. And for Latrell Mitchell, it's the aggression. You want him to play with aggression, but you can't have him fouling players. Now, this has repercussions, obviously. Latrell Mitchell missing for the season now, so what does South Sydney do? It's a great performance. They score 54 points against a team in the top 4, but they lose one of their best players. Blake Taff, I think, will come in. There's a couple of options there, maybe one less option with Josh Mansour out injured. I thought this young man was excellent. He's come up and he's played a couple of different positions in first grade, and he's lively. He doesn't look out of place, and I just think that he might be the best option. Alex Johnson has always done a great job on that flank, and I guess most people would when you're playing outside Walker and the like.
I think he's one of the players they're looking at to fill Adam Reynolds' position going forward, so maybe it's an early taste for him.
I think that he will be the number 7 next year, and I think, you know, when there was all that controversy about Adam Reynolds leaving the club, they had to have somebody in mind, and I think that's the young man. So I think he will be up there in the number 1 jersey, and, you know, he's not going to be a Latrell Mitchell, but he'll get a job done for them.
Manly 36, Bulldogs 18. Bulldogs led 12-4 early, led at half-time too, I think, if my memory serves me.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, and look, in the end...
my marbles just yet.
In the end, Tom Trbojevic scored 3 tries in this game, and it was one of those difficult matches. So much riding on it. You know, like it was a 4th position, but yeah, it was a difficult game for them. And out of the weekend, probably one of the better performances, I suppose, from the top teams when you have a look at them, alongside Parramatta. But expected to beat the Bulldogs, they did so, and they've got a a decent differential. So, you know, fourth place may well be theirs, especially considering the amount of pressure that the Roosters are under now. And Parramatta have got a tough one next week.
Thank you for confirming I'm not losing my marbles too.
No, I didn't confirm that.
No, I noticed
it's still in question.
Raiders 28, Warriors 16. Now here's another one that was well and truly in the balance. This could have ended Canberra's season here. The Warriors flew out of the blocks. And Canberra, to their credit, they dug in and they got them. And they got them in the second half, which is a stark contrast to what's been happening this year.
They were down 16-0, 16-6 at half-time. But I think for the Canberra Raiders, there was some confidence there because the 3 tries they conceded in that first half, they were gifts from drop balls, from kicks. So, and there was an early break made by Wade Egan from the Warriors, split the markers. That was in the opening moments where there was just a really ordinary play from Josh Hodgson, which you don't normally see around markers. So I don't feel as though they went into the break 16-0 down on the back of, you know, being opened up too often by the opposition. I liked the comeback in the second half. And
although the first try they got opened up by the opposition, wasn't that in the first minute?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Well,
after that, I'm going, what's happened here?
Yeah, they rectified that, and it's very rare for that to happen, to get opened up that way. But I thought they looked very stable when Chance Nickel-Kluxter came into this game. Second game back, came off the bench again. I think he'll start next week, and that'll allow Jordan Rapana to go out on the wing. Scored a key try, and you know, when you consider the problems they've had in losing a couple of their spine in George Williams and Kluxter for a major part of the season, his return now, and possibly help them into the top 8, means that he's going to be a chief contributor for them.
Since he was injured earlier in the season, Pete, they've used 5 different players at fullback.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, and that's difficult to overcome. Warriors had a chance to win it. I thought they didn't set up particularly well for a field goal in one set of 6, and then they got down there again, and Reece Walsh sprayed one wide. Sean Johnson will be there to manage that better for them next week. But nice performance from the Raiders, and they may well be the side to go into the 8, depending on what we see from Cronulla next week, whose fate are in their hands.
Cowboys broke a 10-game losing run, 38-26 over the Dragons. Going to start with the positives here. Todd Payten's blooded some young emerging players, and they're starting to show that they've got some ability going forward. Jeremiah Nanai and Helam Lukey in particular, back rowers with a bit of ability. Yeah,
and there's plenty of them there. You know, they're bringing some through. I think Ruben Cott has been excellent. Mitch Dunn goes well, but Nanai on the weekend, I thought he was tremendous. Came in, attacks this kick here from Drinkwater. Not an easy take and not an easy pass to get to Val Holmes onto Kyle Felt. And he throws another beauty here. This is a difficult pass also. Through the gap, accelerates. Now, it's easier to pass that ball forward than it is to actually get it back to Tom Dearden. So, you know, and this is Helam Lukey. Have a look at this big thing. Look at the stride on him. Probably should have passed to one of those players. Eventually finds Jake Granville, who just didn't have the speed to get away. Then he backs up next play and just crashes over. Now, these young blokes, very new to the NRL. He's still growing into that body.
He's looked super since he's come into first grade.
He does. So, you know, they've had a dismal season. There he is again flying up. So they lose 10 in a row. They win one now. If you're looking for positives for North Queensland, it's the fact that they have got a lot of young players that were blooded this year in the NRL who will be better for the experience, and just a couple of players there who've got obvious ability about them. They just need to get everything else right. Interested to see Val Holmes in the centres. I wonder whether that is a long-term proposition, because I like Tabuai-Fidow at fullback. I think when you've got the danger of his speed and evasion coming at you from both sides of the field when he wants, that's hard to deny. So Val Holmes maybe in the centres, maybe back onto the wing, but I like Tabuai-Fidow at fullback.
We've seen some young emerging players come through for the Dragons as well in the last few weeks. Sullivan playing out of position has done a pretty good job wearing the number 9. Amone, of course. But, Pete, if you're a Dragons fan, you're entitled to be... You're probably cranky at this stage of the year, aren't you? Because they were showing signs that they could challenge for a finals place, but since Barbecue Gate, it's gone out the window.
Well, it doesn't look like that's a coincidence, does it? That's when their season imploded. And they were close enough if good enough. And you know, those players you mentioned, I'll throw... Tyrell Sloan looks like he's a quality player as well. They all look a little bit alike. Fairly slight, but so good on their feet. And Jaden going into dummy half because of the fact that Cameron McInnes is out. Then they lose Andrew McCulloch, and Ben Hunt wasn't an option there as well. So, yeah, they've had some things they've had to contend with. Freddie Lussick was actually loaned from the Roosters, who's struggling to get 21 players. They were good enough to put him across coming off the bench. Yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise. But, yeah, if I'm a Dragons fan, I'm irate at the fact that, this was a season where they possibly could have played finals football, and I thought they cut their own throat.
Back to Thursday. Newcastle 15, Gold Coast Titans 14. But Seals Newcastle's place inside the top 8 makes it hard for the Gold Coast now, but you can't replace experience. And Mitchell Pearce, just when he had to step up and nail the one-pointer, he got one crack at it and he did it.
Yeah, and this was to get them into the semi-finals. So there was a lot riding on this game to take the pressure off so that they know coming into round 25 that they are there. It's a big win for the Newcastle Knights. And the combination of Mitchell Pearce and Jake Clifford continues to grow. They're unbeaten together. It's 5 or 6 games they've played together now and they haven't been beaten. He's taking pressure off Mitchell Pearce, who is still the conductor and still leads the way. And then you throw Kalen Ponga into the mix as well. And the 1, 6, 7 are starting to really enjoy playing alongside each other. And the more they play, obviously, the better they'll get. I think Mitchell Pearce he's a quality number 7. And defensively, if you watch him, he's the best number 7 at letting everybody know around him where they need to be. And I've got him and he's yours. And that helps no end. But before this game, Adam O'Brien, the Newcastle coach, was asked, what do you need to fix up? Where is the biggest improvement to come? And he said their attack. Now, that's still way off. We saw individual performances from Ponga, but just some little instances here where they just get it wrong. Their players getting in the way almost and just getting it wrong. See there, Kurt Mann is coming in, he crowds Tyson Frizzell, the play breaks down. I thought on too many occasions, Jay Clifford actually went to the short man on the outside, like there, Mitch Barnett, where the better option was out the back. They tried to get the ball to Bradman Best, one pass too late, it hit the ground. And again, it's just a little bit clunky there, a forward pass there from Kalen Ponga. And again, if you're trying to get Bradman Best into the game, there are opportunities there that I thought that they spurned because they were too often just going to the lead man, the lead man, the lead man. Get Bradman a little bit deeper and just get the ball to him and take them on. I know Andrew Johns is calling for Pearce to Ponga to Best as often as possible. Well, Bradman didn't get enough carries in that game as well. The attack, it's evolving, but they need to sort it out very, very quickly. Yep,
they've got 1 week to do it before they rocket into the finals. And the other match too, Sharks 24, Broncos 16. I want to take my hat off to both coaches here. Josh Hannay has had a terribly difficult job after John Morris was shown the door earlier in the year. feels like 3 years ago.
Yep.
But the season could have gone either way. It could have spiralled, or they could make a run and the players have responded to him. And similarly, Kevin Walters, some people were wondering whether he'd last the season halfway through the year, but he's blooded some really impressive young players at Brisbane, and I reckon they've got every right to feel optimistic about what they can do next year.
I agree. They're heading in the right direction. Throw Adam Reynolds in the mix and all of a sudden it's a completely different looking situation. But I've got to say the Sharks, giving Josh Hannay a rap, and rightly so, he's done it with Sean Johnson going down. No Wade Graham there as well.
Yeah.
Josh Dugan, he's had his problems, but when he's playing good footy, he's obviously adds plenty of experience to them. So
Moylan in and out.
Very much in and out. So, yeah, Josh Hannay, I'd like to think that this is, he's earned some credit points here in regards to if he wants to be a first-grade coach, then he's shown what he's capable of here. So, and we have a look at the ladder now. The Cronulla Sharks, the fate is in their own hands. If they win next week with that differential, they will get 8th position. Obviously, the minor premiership hasn't been decided as well.
Well, that's the big question. Will Craig Bellamy rest all his players for the last round? He's done that the last couple of years. I know his plans were to do it again, but given they were beaten, I'm wondering if he's reassessing that, and I'm wondering if he's considering who he wants to play in week 1 of the finals, because if they play their full-strength team, they beat Cronulla, backing up from a loss, but then they draw Manly.
I don't think that he's looking to who they play. I think he's confident they'll beat everybody when need be. Whoever comes up, they'll be good enough. Cronulla won't be easy to beat, even with a full-strength Melbourne side. I think the fact that he has rested some players in the last couple of weeks, he actually pretty much went in with his full side against Parramatta. But we've seen a number of players that haven't. I think Falus Kafusi, Justin Olam has spent time on. I think it might be a couple of individuals who he might look to rest on an individual basis. That
Lado Carr's hamstring, so that'll
well,
keep him out.
yeah, you won't play him for sure. But if he'll look through and he'll know if somebody needs just to freshen up to go into finals football. So I think that they'll be a strong side, maybe not at their very, very best. But yeah, it's an interesting weekend coming up in regards to what coaches do what with their players. But I don't think that'll be based necessarily on, whether they feel as though it makes a difference between finishing 1 or 2 or whatever. So.
Some good games coming up too this week here on 9. Thursday night, Raiders, Roosters. Friday night, the old battle between the Eels and the Panthers. Looking forward to the last round of the premiership proper before we head into the finals.
Yeah, and I like the fact that going into the last week there are still those permutations available, and that's why there's been some talk, is 8 too many teams? Well, it keeps it entertaining all the way through to round 25. We still don't know who'll finish 8th. We still don't know who the minor premiers are. That's yet to be decided.
Thanks, mate. Talk to you
Thanks,
next week.
Matty. You look good.
So do you.
Thanks, mate.
Ta-da.